mean, look at Jenrick. I mean, I don't know what he believes in. He should have convinced me as a chubby bloke. He shouldn't have had to do all of that and buy new suits to convince the nation. He's slippery. I don't trust him. To me, that's not what multiculturalism should have been about. We have allowed people to come here and live separate, parallel lives. I don't want that for this country.
I think a much bigger problem of parallel lives in this country is between classes. The lives that we lead as working class people, very parallel in difference to the middle classes. Hot takes, bold opinions, and a shot of truth. Welcome to the Daily Expresso. I'm JJ Anisiobi, and today I'm joined by Express columnist Carole Malone. Carole, you lazy so-and-so.
You so didn't write that intro.
I did write that intro.
You so did
Hot
not.
takes, bold opinions, and a shot of truth. Listen, lazy, where have you been? You were missing last week.
I've been to a lovely island in Croatia called Brač.
Oh, yeah?
Which is really lovely. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's lovely because my husband is Bosnian and he used to go to those islands when he was a kid.
Okay.
And he hasn't been back for 36 years. And my husband used to be a diver. He was in charge of the Navy diving team. And one of the guys he used to dive with, he met up with for the first time in 36 years. Wow. Big, 6'4", gorgeous guy, let me tell you. And they cried like babies, the two of them. I mean, these two guys saved each other's lives a million times years ago, back in the day. And it was just joyous for me to see him back in his own culture. It was really lovely.
He was crying.
He was crying. Both of them were crying like a baby.
What
These
a
big, tough
sissy.
guys.
What a sissy.
Oh, no, he's not a sissy.
Ditch him. Get rid of him.
They just remembered.
Come and find yourself a real man, Carole. Come on.
I've got one. Trust me.
Should we get started?
I hope he hasn't heard this because he'll come for you. Anyway.
It's the last day of what has been a rather quiet Tory party conference, and Kemi Badenoch used her final speech to make some major fiscal promises. She vowed to stop Labour stealing from our children and grandchildren with its reckless economic policies, and the Tory leader said Labour have no plan for Britain. She said they just bring chaos and weaken our borders, and Starmer doesn't know what he stands for, and neither do we. Is she wrong? I'm not really sure she is. Kemi also took shots at Rachel Reeves and blamed the Chancellor for Britain's economic outlook, stating the country needs the Conservatives back in charge. After days of polite applause and lukewarm panels, Badenoch's message was clear. She's here to draw lines, not build bridges. And to top it all off, she promised to get rid of stamp duty. Hurrah, Carole. This was good, right?
I aged during that intro, but anyway. I think I really wanted Kemi Badenoch to make the leadership work. I really did. I thought she'd be really good for this country.
Yeah.
I thought she'd be tough and strong. I thought she'd bring people to her. And I was listening to her today, and you know, she doesn't connect with people. She's saying all the right things now. She's talking about, you know, banning doctors from striking, leaving ACHR, scrapping stamp duty, all stuff we wanted to hear 50 months ago. But, you know, she's had 15 months to transform this Tory party, and she's done nothing. Her popularity in the polls, it is zero. It's way below zero. That's a stupid thing to say. It's way below that. She's just not got what it takes. And I thought, you know, that conference today, I heard one politician say that the conference has been like a New Orleans funeral. Lots of noise, lots of colour, lots of shouting, but something died. And something in the Tory party has died, I think. And Tory's not the woman to resurrect it. I wanted her to be. I so wanted her to be. But I watch her, you know, I watch her at PMQs. She's never properly prepared. You know, Starmer has given her, this is the worst government we've had in 60 years. He has given her so many open goals, and she just has not taken the shot. And I see he says things in the comments, and she's like reading her papers, and I think, get up, slam him for what he just said. And she's not well prepared. She doesn't do enough press. You know, she doesn't do enough stuff with the media where people would be able to connect with her. I think this could conceivably be her last Tory conference. I mean, there's been a poll done. It says half of Tory members do not want her to lead them into the next election. The talk is they want Jenrick to do it, who is Jenrick says the right things, but I don't trust him as far as I could throw him. I think he's a weasel. I think what's his name? The other one, Cleverly.
James Cleverly, yeah.
Oh, he's boring beyond belief. He doesn't say, he's not going to fix anything. You look, you know, I'm old enough to remember, you know, governments where there were titans in the cabinet. You know, each of them, you know,
Churchill
was a well. I wasn't alive then, but anyway, he mentions my age in every one. Guys guys and women who are stand alone. There's nobody like that in the Tory party now, and there's nobody like that in the Labour Party either. And this is the problem, and this is why I think Reform could walk it at the next election, because we need a revolution. And Farage is leading a revolution, and maybe we need that. I don't know how good he's going to be, but maybe we need that, because what I heard today, this is not going to bring the Tory faithful back. Leaving the ECHR, I want that to happen, but I don't think a lot of Tory members do, and certainly a lot of Tory MPs don't want that to happen either. Look how Weasley they were about it when Sunak was in power. So I just think, and I know we're saying she's going to do this. I mean, she's promising fiscal prudence. It's not sexy, man. It's just not. It's not going to bring people on board that. The stamp duty line might, the leaving the ECHR might, but will she do it? I don't think she's got it in her to do it.
But has she done enough to convince small C Conservatives and some of the Labour people who maybe would stray across if she was running?
She got 5 standing ovations today after the speech. There were 20 minutes of applause threaded throughout her speech. So that's great. I mean, that is really great. But her last 15 months as leader has been lackluster. She has not connected with people. She's not hit home with anybody. She's not skewered Starmer. Now, anyone can skewer Starmer. Marion Scunthorpe, if she got in front of Starmer, could skewer him within 5 minutes. So why can't the leader of the opposition do it? And she's not even leading a party now that's number 2 in the polls. She's leading a party that's number 4 in the polls, and sometimes number 5. So under her, the Tory party has plummeted even farther than it did after that disastrous election.
I think, because we interviewed her last week on the show, and she won me over. She was very charming.
Well, she would be, because she'd be playing to you, of course. But that's not the point.
But if she could replicate what she did with me to the country, then I think she has a chance of maybe just being able to do a coalition with Reform, perhaps.
What she has said, unconditionally, that will never happen, which I think is a stupid thing to say, because, she is seeing the votes now that are going to Reform. She's seeing how the country is going to Reform. To actually rule that out at this point is really stupid. She might not want to do a deal with Reform, but the bottom line is, if it means that Reform get into power and they're a coalition, because the alternative is horrendous. The alternative is Labour for another 4.5 years. And, by the time the election comes around, this country is going to be down the toilet anyway. So I just think, she can't be saying things like that, because what she's doing is the people who are thinking about going to Reform, with her saying, I'm not going to do a deal with them, they will go to Reform and she'll have lost them. Yeah. And the only people she's going to keep are the dyed-in-the-wool Tories, who are going to die out eventually, literally die out. Yeah. So I just, I feel sorry for her in a way, because she inherited a poisoned chalice. After Boris stormed home with an 80-seat majority, and I mean, he didn't do too well after that. But that's a hard act to follow. It's an impossible act to follow. But she has just been, I just think, lackluster about sums up her leadership, and it's a shame. We needed a punchy leader. Yeah. And we haven't got it.
Who would you want to see as the next Tory leader?
But that's there's nobody seriously.
Dame Priti Patel.
I quite liked her, actually. And people will probably say, but I liked Suella Braverman too. I thought she was tough as old boots, and I like women like her who, no matter how unfashionable what you're saying is, you say it anyway because it's what you believe. And I think we don't have many conviction politicians in government. I mean, look at Jenrick. I mean, I don't know what he believes in. I hear what he says. But, a bloke who, loses 3 stone, gets his teeth capped and does all the things he's done to actually present a good face to the world isn't a real politician to me. He should have convinced me as a chubby bloke. He shouldn't have had to do all of that and buy new suits to convince the nation. So I don't, he's slippery. I don't trust him. And I just think that they're all like that. Yeah. There's seriously no one I can think of. Breaks my heart.
Okay, well, speaking of Jenrick, Robert Jenrick has stood by the comments he previously made this year about Handsworth in Birmingham. Jenrick said he'd not seen another white face in the hour and a half he spent in the area in March. He was in the Handsworth area filming a video about litter and called it one of the worst integrated places he'd ever been to. The recording, published by The Guardian, was allegedly made during a dinner and has not been disputed by the Tory MP's team. In the recording, he continues, That's not the kind of country I want to live in. I want to live in a country where people are properly integrated. It's not about the colour of your skin or your faith. Of course it isn't, but I want people to be living alongside each other, not parallel lives. Now, Carole, I've got lots of thoughts on this because I'm from this neck of the woods. I've got family and friends. I used to play sport in this area. I think he's talking absolute drivel for the most part, but I'd be interested to hear your thoughts.
I don't think he is. I think what he did was he made an observation, and I don't think that's racist. To make an observation of what you see. I live in a part of London. If I travel 2 miles to another area, I would barely see a white face either. I think what he's talking about generally is multiculturalism, and he's talking about how it hasn't worked, and it really hasn't worked. There are whole areas of this country there are communities that are not British communities. We have whole cities in this country now that are Muslim cities. If you remember Danny Kruger, when he went over to Reform, he was talking about this, and he said we have whole communities that have completely separated themselves, and they're living a very un-British life. And let's be straight here, we're talking about Islam, and the problem with Islam is that there's an expectation that goes with it that you have to live in a certain way. And that way conflicts with our way of life in the sense that I do not want to walk around this country and see women with cages on their faces and covered from head to toe with only their eyes on show, walking 4 paces behind their husband. I don't want to see that. And should I be tolerant of that? Well, I am, because I don't do anything about it. But do I want to see that? No, I don't. We have many subcultures in this country who are living entirely apart, living on their own. They exist in their own bubble. We have people in this country who've been here for 20 years who don't speak English. That's not multiculturalism. That's not what it was supposed to be about. We were all supposed to live alongside each other, and that's not happening. We are living segregated lives. And I think the greatest threat to this country isn't British white racism. It's the importation of tribal ideologies that don't get on. Do you remember the riots in Leicester a couple of years ago where 2 factions of Muslims were fighting? And I think it was Hindus and
Sikhs, maybe, yeah.
And they were so that is happening in this country. That should not be happening in this country. If you come here, you should come here because you like what our culture is. You shouldn't come here and say, I hate your culture. It's obscene. We want to get rid of it. We want it subsumed. We want to trash it.
So your husband isn't British.
No.
Yeah, exactly. And he's come here and integrated and speaks language.
My husband adores this country.
So multiculturalism does work then. You can't say it's failed because of a few incidences.
Well,
but there's plenty more people who are not born here, or people like me who are sons of immigrants who have integrated perfectly.
But my husband's culture does not clash with ours. And even if it did, he tells me he respects this country's culture. He respects what this country has done for him, and he will follow the rules of this country and always has. And I think when you see what's happening on our streets just now. You see what's happening with the pro-Palestinian demonstrations every single week. You see people shouting for the deaths of people from other cultures and other religions, and this has become a country where you can do that, where you can actually go onto our street and you can say Jews have to die, where you can say, kill those people.
But I've been on those marches, and I see the majority of people on those marches are white people.
I don't care about the majority. I'm talking about the minority.
But you've got white people on marches shouting from the river to the sea. Yes, that is unacceptable. But that's not.
Totally.
But then that's not a fault of multiculturalism. That's white people in this country speaking up for people being oppressed elsewhere.
Why are Jews in this country now living in terror, living in fear, being told to stay at home, to keep out of trouble, to not put themselves in public view? That is totally unacceptable. It
is totally unacceptable.
And we have a government and we have police forces who let these people who threaten Jews get away with it. I'm not Jewish, but my God, I feel for them.
Absolutely.
Who would be a Jew in this country today? Seriously.
But if we're talking about, if you're talking about Muslims and you don't want to see women walk behind their husbands.
I don't.
What about communities like in London, Stamford Hill, which is a majority Hasidic Jewish community? According to what you're saying and what Jenrick is saying, is that community shouldn't exist also. There should be
No, I'm not saying that.
But there should be British people living amongst the Hasidic Jews. There should be
the Jewish
ethnically English
culture
people.
Does not try to change ours.
Okay.
Never have. They have never imposed themselves on our culture. They do not say that our culture is trash.
So your issue is just with Islam then?
My issue is not just with Islam. My issue is with cultures and religions that are contrary to British beliefs and British cultures and British traditions.
But Jenrick is saying his issue is that there's not enough white people. He's saying in Handsworth he didn't see a single white face.
Well, if
in
he
the 90
didn't,
minutes
that's his
there.
observation, and you have to accept that. When was the last time you were there?
Handsworth. I was there last weekend. I was in Solihull and Handsworth last weekend. My auntie Daisy lives in Handsworth Wood.
Okay.
There are white people in Handsworth. That is just
What
a
is
fact.
the majority?
The majority is Asian. I think it's 60% Asian,
Well, I
and
think
then it's about 20%
that's
black
kind of what he
and
was
20%
saying,
white. Well, he said he didn't see a single white face, which is what I'm saying, and that's his observation. Fine, but if he went to the countryside and he doesn't see a single brown or black face, is he going to say this isn't right? We must have more brown and black people in the countryside.
But it has been said. We know it's been said. It's been
Not
said
by Jenrick. It ain't been said.
Not by Jenrick.
So
by
he's
members
picking
of the Labour. We've had people say the countryside is racist because the people who've gone there don't see a black or a brown face.
The former mayor of West Midlands, Andy Street, he came out and said himself, it's simply not true. What Jenrick's saying is not true, and it's just, but he's a Tory. Never mind, he's a Tory. I just feel like Jenrick's words are just stoking division, and he's specifically saying he has a problem in areas in this country where he doesn't see a white face after 90 minutes. That is poor. That is a poor representation on his behalf.
If that was his experience, if that's what he saw,
that's his
because
truth.
what you're suggesting is he's lying.
Yeah,
he did see. So is that what you're suggesting? That he's lying?
I'm suggesting that he spending 90 minutes anywhere is not enough to gauge how some places. Absolutely
well, I
not.
think it's enough to gauge what your eyes see. So if he hasn't seen a white face, that's what he is saying. It would be very silly of him to lie because he would not have been on his own. There would have been other people around him who would have said, you're talking tosh. I mean, he does generally talk tosh. I mean, it is true. But if that's your observation of something, if that is the case, well, then you're entitled to say it. And it's not racist to say it. But I think the wider point he's making is that there are sections of this country where people are living parallel lives. And to me, that's not what multiculturalism should have been about. We have allowed people to come here and live separate parallel lives. And I don't want that for this country.
So we should be telling people the problem isn't with having Islam in this country. The problem is that this Christian country doesn't have enough people going to church. Churches are being shut down all the time in this country because there's not enough parishioners.
What's that got to do with what's that got to do with people living separate lives?
Because what you're saying is that you don't want to see a Muslim woman and a Muslim man walk down the street and the woman has to cover her face and etc.
What I said was,
and
I qualified the point by saying, I don't want women in this country to feel like second-class citizens. I don't want them to be second to men. We fought very long and hard, women in this country, to get equality, and I don't want to see women being put into second place. I don't want to see them being denied education, and that is happening in certain communities where they are not taught the same things as the boys are. They're taught cooking and needlework and whatever. They're not taught. They're not being given knowledge, and that to me is entirely wrong. I don't like the idea of Sharia courts in this country. I don't like the idea of a different. It's not an entirely legal system, but I don't like women having to go before those courts because their husband wants to divorce them and being chucked out on the street, which those courts can and have done. So that should not exist for me in this country.
I think a much bigger problem of parallel lives in this country is between classes. I'm a working class kid. I grew up on a council estate. I still live on a council estate amongst white people, amongst black people, amongst Asian people. The lives that we lead as working class people, very parallel and different to the middle classes.
You're not working class, Jojo.
I am. Listen, just because I dress
so
nice
not.
and I speak, I speak well, does not mean I'm not working class.
We were born working class, but we're not living that life now. Here you are, working for a national newspaper, earning decent money. You're doing a podcast. You're not a working class person on a council estate.
I am.
No,
That's literally my address. I'm in a council estate now. That's where I live.
I am very proud of the fact that I grew up on a council estate, probably much worse than yours, and we're going to compete for council estate.
We are going to compete. Well, we didn't have horse and cart when I grew up.
And until I was 35, I think, and came to London and had some measure of success, yes, I still think of myself in my heart as working class, but someone on an estate in Darlington is not going to look at me and say, she's working class. They're not. Because what separates me from them is wages, the fact I own a house. That separates me from a lot of working class people. The fact that I have a job, the fact that I'm able to have a job, that means now that I've kind of moved away from that. I still feel it, but it doesn't matter where I live now. I have left that because my lifestyle is different now.
But I
to what it used to be.
I haven't left it. I'm still there.
No, you're not.
I just moved from Dudley to London. I'm still on the council estate. I'm still going to the same corner shop as my mates.
Tell me, are you living in a council house?
No, I'm living on a council estate. So
You're living in a private home on a council estate?
Yeah, I'm renting.
You're renting
on a council estate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, why are you doing that? Because then you're taking
that's what I could afford.
The council
that's
houses.
What I could afford.
No, that's tough. You're taking houses of people who actually literally need those houses, and you with your nice job and your nice podcast you're living a middle class life, whether you agree with it or not.
Good Lord.
You are.
Right, let's move on.
Yeah, let's.
Now, you might have seen yellow ribbons pop up around your town. They're there in commemoration of Israeli hostages, a gentle reminder that there are still families missing and thinking of their loved ones. But a woman named Nadia Yalom was filmed cutting yellow ribbons tied to a gate in London. The incident happened just a day before the second anniversary of the October 7th attacks. Here's a clip.
I never understand these people who video people. What's your name? What's your name? Feel so proud of yourself. What's your name?
You're not going to do this.
Not going to do what?
I'm not committing a crime.
Yes, you are.
You're doing something that is.
And then call the police. You call the police and you let them know that you have an issue with this.
You disgusting little human being. You're disgusting.
I think condoning a genocide is disgusting.
Oh, yeah, so we support genocide. Oh, yes.
And so.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's what this is.
No, it's not.
What? Ribbons for people who have been imprisoned, abducted, Yeah, we're going to show the world what you're doing. You're going to be famous.
Yeah, you would love that.
I'm
That's
a
why you're doing
journalist.
it.
I work for a national newspaper. This is going straight to the Daily Telegraph.
Now, I think the man whose voice we heard in that video summed it up perfectly. Disgusting little pig. That woman.
Oh, did he call her a pig? I didn't hear.
I might have added that pig part in myself.
Okay.
Subconsciously, I might have called a pig myself there. It doesn't matter what your views are on the conflict. It doesn't matter what side you're supporting, and you can still be for freedom of Palestine and show respect.
You can. This woman, let's name her. She's called Nadia Yalom. You did before. She's there, and she calls herself. What does she call it? She calls herself a Palestinian Israeli artist.
Yeah.
Now I don't quite know how that works. You wouldn't like her on your side, would you? I mean, this is just beyond disrespectful. It's stupid as well. How do yellow ribbons? How are they involved in genocide? I mean, I don't understand the argument here, and it's part of the reason I don't understand the protests in London, because how can you abuse Jews here? How can you threaten them here? They've got nothing to do with what's going on in Gaza. You don't kill Jews, abuse Jews here for what's going on in Gaza, because it's literally nothing to do with them.
Exactly.
And I just think to not respect those people who've been living in those tunnels for, I don't know how long it is now. I should know exactly to the day.
Yeah.
But these people are being starved. God knows what else is happening to them. And for someone to show this kind of disrespect, people like that, she says she's not committing a crime, and she said.
Oh, she is. She's committing a hate crime.
She said, well, yes. She said very glibly there, call the police. You know why she said that? Because she knows the cops are going to do absolutely nothing about it, because they would completely be on her side. They might have arrested her had they been there, but they would have let her off without charge later. How bloody dare she do this? How dare she? Imagine what it's like being a Jew in this country now. Imagine, if you're not being abused, spat at, attacked, you're expecting to be. You're looking over your shoulder. You have coppers telling you to stay out of the way, stay at home in case you provoke someone who is against you. If you provoke someone who is anti-Israel, stay in your house. I remember seeing the pictures, after the Second World War, after the Holocaust, when those concentration camp prisoners were being released from Buchenwald, and they held up that sign that said "Never again," and the world went "Never again, never again." It's happening now on the streets of this country, and it not only does it sicken me to my stomach when I see people like her, it frightens the life out of me, because it could so easily happen again. And I see that this government, together with our police force, are facilitating anti-Semitism on our streets, because they're not doing anything about it. Starmer had, if the protests that we've seen, had it been right-wing protests, as we saw in Southport, immediately they're chucked in jail straight away, charged, thrown in jail. When it's a left-wing cause, Starmer sent out a tweet the other day and said, we will protect Jews. What, with a tweet? Protect Jews by stopping these protests now. Stop them. Stop pretending you don't have the laws to do it, because you do. And I just feel this is a government that has completely abandoned Jews. We have a Home Secretary who, in the past, has had a very strong pro-Palestinian voice. She has been on these marches. She has actually facilitated. She did one march where supermarkets that stocked Israeli goods were actually closed down. Now, that's our Home Secretary. How can we possibly believe this woman is going to look after Jews in this country? I don't believe it for a nanosecond. Has she changed her views about Israel and Palestine? I don't believe she has for a second. But this sort of stuff happening in our streets in plain sight, this kind of hate crime, this kind of anti-Semitism is disgusting.
There's a left-wing activist, I suppose. Nicola Thorpe used to be in Coronation Street. Now she's
She used to work on the station news.
She did. So she has been sharing videos of. Well, she shared this video of this Nadia Yalom woman, and Nicola captured it something like, "This is disgraceful. It's shameful, etc., etc." And the comments underneath from fellow left-leaning people were disgusting. Saying, "Oh, why should we support her? I'm glad that she's cutting down these ribbons, etc., etc." I don't understand why the left, and I say the extreme left, I don't understand.
They're not even extreme left, JJ. Do you remember when Starmer was campaigning for the Labour leadership? And it was politically advantageous to him to stand by Israel, if you remember, because he said that his party was infested with anti-Semitism under Jeremy Corbyn. He said he was going to stamp all of that out, and that's how he won. That's how he won the Labour leadership. Yeah. And he said he'd done that. Now, it is not politically expedient for him to stand by Israel and to stand by the Jews, because his government is infested with pro-Palestinian supporters who hate Israel, as are his membership, as are many left-leaning people in this country. So he is cutting the Jewish community in this country adrift. He doesn't care what happens to them. He really doesn't care. And I hear also he's married to someone who's Jewish. That's irrelevant. He's not protecting Jews in this country when he should be. And I think it's, when you have a government that's like that, so the party has always been like this, and now I think they're showing their true colours. It's exactly what you say. Why should Nicola Thorpe be abused for saying it's disrespectful to cut these down? Yeah, it's a fact. It's totally when you think about the lack of compassion now, in this country is completely broken. This would never have happened 5 years ago. It is broken. People just are cruel and nasty, and they were cheering on the streets the other day. The two British Jews had died. They're literally cheering. Yeah. And that's kind of not a country I want to live in, really. It's just not.
Right, let's finish on a piece of news that could shake the very foundations of this country. Lord Nelson was gay. At least that is being suggested by a gallery who have placed famous paintings of Nelson in their queer relationships collection. The British naval hero was fatally shot during the Battle of Trafalgar, and his final moments aboard HMS Victory are depicted in two paintings at the taxpayer-funded Walker Art Gallery in Liverpool. Now, it's generally believed that Nelson's last words on his deathbed after being shot were, "Kiss me, Hardy," which he uttered to his flag captain, Vice Admiral Sir Thomas Hardy. According to the contested account, Hardy then kissed Nelson on his hands and forehead. That account has prompted curators to place these paintings in the specific collection devoted to queer love. This is despite the fact that Nelson had a passionate relationship with his mistress, Emma Hamilton, pronouns she, her, and had been married for 18 years to his wife, Frances Nisbet, when he died. So, Carole, do you think Nelson was gay?
No. Historians have never been able to find any evidence whatsoever that he was gay. I think this is just the LGBTQ plus crowd trying to get in on history and trying to turn it around. I don't care if he was gay. I mean, I think it would be rather nice if he was. I mean, he spent a lot of time at sea with no women. He might have decided he was bi at some point during that time. But as you say, he was married for 18 years. He had a mistress, Emma Hamilton. Was it Emma Hamilton? Yeah. For many, many years as well. I mean, I don't know how he would have had the time to go the other way as well. But this is just, it's nonsense. How can they possibly know? I did used to wonder what that thing "Kiss Me Hardy" was
Yeah.
about.
Does it make you gay if you ask your best mate to give you
Well,
a
I think
kiss on
if
your
you-
deathbed?
Maybe if you're dying, you maybe just want to cuddle from somebody. It doesn't matter who it is. You know, it could be your granny, it could be anybody. It could be a Vice Admiral. What was he? The Vice.
Vice Admiral, Captain, Flag
Exactly.
Bearer.
If he's the only person there, you might want to cuddle from him. But I don't think it makes him gay. I don't care if he was, but I don't think it makes him gay.
Let's do a bit of role play.
That's what.
I'm dying.
Yeah.
Carol,
Hurry up.
kiss me. Hurry up! Kiss me, Carol. I'm on my deathbed.
Sorry, I'm a bit busy. I've got lunch on.
Perfect.
I'll come back later. Oh, he's gone.
Wonderful. Well, on that bombshell, we're going to call it a day. Thank you, Carole Malone.
My pleasure.
Your grand return.
I have to pull this hanky out. I just have to. This is just so affected.
You don't like the hanky?
Do you know, that goes with my outfit, doesn't it?
It does.
It does quite go with
You
my
should tie it
outfit.
around your face so I can't see it. Do us all a favour.
I'm going to tie it around yours.
The caffeine has worn off, and that is all we have time for. Thank you for watching the Daily Expresso, and join us again tomorrow, where I'm joined by Conservative MP Esther McVeigh. Bye-bye.